Hey people, Fernando doing another video for the More Survivalist channel, and in this case I want to talk about basic food preparedness. We've talked so many times about the importance of food. If it's an economic collapse that you're preparing for, if you're preparing for serious social change, a country becoming more authoritarian, socialism rising, which is a concern that many of us have here in the West, and a number of other potential disasters and emergencies and situations that you want to prepare for, food is always key. We also talk about self-defense. That is crucial as well. But when you're looking at some of the more serious disasters, one of the things you realize is food is your most important concern in terms of keeping you alive on a day-to-day basis. Now, water would be key as well. The thing is, water is a resource that even though, depending on where you are, it may be more limited and even not available at times and causes a lot of suffering around the world, you can somehow find a source of water. Now, when it comes to food, you're talking about something that's a lot more expensive, a lot harder to get for a larger number of people, and this will directly affect your survivability during large-scale events, serious disasters. So, long story short, you want to have a strong supply of food. Now, there's also the strategy of, well, I live in a place where I can actually produce my food. I live in a farm, so I can, grow my own food. That is fantastic. Now, you're talking about something that's not always within the possibility of a lot of people. And even if it is, the idea of producing food later on, that is not the same as having a good storage, a good supply of food already at hand. That is going to be crucial for your preparedness. You have food right now. Doesn't matter where you live. If it's in a farm, if it's in an apartment, in the suburbs, wherever you are, you want to have several months of food already in place. Now, here's where you're looking at maybe spending quite a bit of money. If you buy some of the more expensive freeze-dried food, some of the prepper survival food that can be quite expensive at times. One of the more simple ways of right now, immediately, for a lot of you watching this video, you're thinking, hey, I have limited resources, I have just a little bit of money. What should I do? Buy pasta. Maybe not even this one, which is a little bit fancier. It's not the best one, not by a long shot, but buying the more affordable pasta that you have around is probably your best bang per buck. So as you have a supply of food that will keep you alive for a very long time. So how long can this stuff keep you alive? How long can you actually store pasta? That's what this video is about. So you have different options. You can go with storing rice, you can store wheat, you have your mills, and it can get quite complex. This is simple, this is cheap, and this works. It has worked very well for a long period of time all over the world. This keeps people alive when things go wrong. Now the question is, how long can I actually store this? Well, let's actually check it out. This box of pasta, this has an expiration date of 2025. So you're looking at, a little bit over 2 years of storage. Now this is the full grain pasta, and typically this lasts for a little bit shorter because of the fatty acids deteriorating and oxidizing. This is good up until middle of 2023. So yeah, it's a lot less than I have here, and this is something to keep in mind. Store your traditional pasta, the cheap stuff that you have around, and avoid the whole grain pasta, because the difference in nutritional value is really not worth the difference of this going bad a lot quicker. A little tip regarding storage: get yourself a food saver and seal these in vacuum sealed bags. That is going to be extending the expiration date considerably, so several years, 2, 3 times, 4 times as much if it's properly sealed in a vacuum sealed bag. It's something that usually it's either humidity or something that is growing, but if you keep air out of it, it will last for a number of years. It could be 10 years that this is still safe enough to eat. okay? Now, how much can you go on just eating pasta? Because, hey, Fernando, I go and spend $100, $200 in pasta. How long can I actually live on that? Well, a lot more than you probably think. You probably know that this hasn't got the best nutritional value. It is still surprisingly good. I mean, it's no coincidence that you see people, for example, in Italy, if you ever visit Rome, people in Italy eat pasta all day long, and they're surprisingly healthy and fit and thin. This is something you notice right away. The idea of a fat pasta eating Italian, that is mostly an American thing. Actually, go to Italy and check how those guys look. Even the guy making pizza all day long, he is thin. He's not going to be overweight, let alone obese. So there's a lot to be said, and it's not this idea of, oh, carbs are the devil. No, it's really not that way. But what about how long can I go eating something that has, it's basically mostly carbs? You have a little bit of fat here that's 2 grams of fat for every 100 grams of pasta. The sugar content is nothing, a little bit of fiber, but mostly this is just carbs. So I did a little bit of research, and I couldn't find actually a solid scientifically proven example of someone going very long just eating pasta. The closest I got to that is still very interesting. This young woman, Olivia Evans, I think she's British, if I remember correctly. Olivia Evans is 18 years old, and she works as a Disney princess impersonator, like for shows and for birthdays and events like that. So yeah, and there's several pictures of her online. She's really good-looking 18-year-old young girl. Now, the interesting thing about her is, well, first of all, she's not obese, which you would assume. Not only that, she's been eating only bland pasta since the age of 2, according to herself and her mom. She has this food phobia, where anything else makes her, have a negative reaction. She starts gagging of even thinking of putting sauce on the pasta. So in theory, this young woman from the age of 2 has lived 16 years eating only dry pasta without, bland pasta without even any kind of sauce. The sauce part is important because even with your basic tomato sauce, it has a lot of salt, and you do need salt to stay alive. If you just eat this, you're probably not going to be, lasting 16 years on this alone. I would like to know exactly what she was eating. That would be great, but I can safely assume that she was taking supplement vitamins, and she was putting quite a bit of salt into the pasta. That would not be ideal, but if my estimation is correct, I can actually see how the vitamins would supplement some of the aspects. You have scurvy, which is something that we do know is a thing, lack of vitamin C. So you want to supplement that as best as you can. But you can probably go for a full year staying alive, eating only pasta and little else. But more to the actual practical example of a real disaster, a real event where something went terribly wrong and you have to survive on pasta alone for several years. Let's say I have a couple years worth of pasta properly stored, because I saw this video from this guy, Fernando, who has a YouTube channel, and he wrote very interesting books like this one, Street Survival Skills, and this one, Surviving the Economic Collapse and Bugging Out and Relocating. And I actually listened to him and said, you know what? I'll actually listen and do what you're saying. I will buy 2 years worth of pasta. Does it mean that you're only limited to eating pasta alone? No, because realistically, if you have 2 years worth of pasta or a year worth of pasta, that means that you have a good supply of it, and you can probably trade or barter for other produce. Maybe something freshly grown in someone's garden, maybe a can of tomato sauce. So some guy has 3 cans of tomato and he has no pasta left whatsoever. He will gladly exchange one of my packets of pasta for that can of tomato sauce, or whatever food it is, or a few eggs. Someone that has a couple eggs, right? Someone that has a chicken, and the chicken lays eggs, and he doesn't want to actually kill the chicken, but he has a few eggs, and he's willing to barter that. He will be more than happy to exchange the caloric value of this pack of pasta for a bunch of eggs that he has. that's something that you can very much count on. So you have not only food that will actually keep you alive for a very long time, you have one of the most valuable barter items, which is this. So my advice is have a strong supply of this stuff. Get yourself some vitamins, get yourself some salts, and a little bit else so as to add a little bit more color to your supply. Folks, that's gonna be all for now. See you on the next video. Take care.